So here's what I've got going on today. I have multiple different models, and I will be creating more models in the future that I want to have all the same materials. So not just one smart material, but multiple edited, altered smart materials. So here's the way I've came up with to do this so far. I'm hoping maybe there's an easier way, but like I said, this is what I've got. So if you look over here, first off, I've got a folder. This is just for organization, and I've added my various smart materials. Now, by the way, we don't want to paint anything on this. This is all just smart materials, things that can be applied to any model. So if you start painting on this, that's going to have to be UV unwrapped, and then if you put it on a different shape, it's going to look weird. It's not going to look right. So these are all just smart materials. Now, I name each one based upon the material that I chose. So I've got stone, paint, old, dust, and mud. Okay, now here is the big thing that helps me the most. I don't want to have to find these later. I don't want my default folders here for stone and metal to be a mess of renamed or duplicated materials. So I hit the plus sign and I make a new folder. This one happens to be called house walls. And each time I pick a material that I believe I like, I rename it and save it, and then you have to move it into this folder. I'll show you at the end of this how to do all of this. I'll go through this, but I just want to talk this out right now. So if you want to just get to the point and solve it and not watch the rest, that's fine. So I choose the stone texture. I double click on it to bring the editor up, and I go through and I make all my changes, and I don't have to worry about changing the main one. I don't have to worry about changing a duplicate that maybe I want to use in a different one. It's only for this folder called house walls. And then to help me out even further, I've started naming them with their order. So the stone was the first one that I added. So it's 01 and name, 02, 03, and 04. Now, I just noticed something here. It doesn't alphabetize after you name it, but it will alphabetize after you reopen it. It wasn't in order here a minute ago. So what that tells me is, first I want to apply the stone, then I want to apply the old paint, then I want to apply the dust, and then I want to apply the mud. And in this case, I have each one in a separate layer. So that's what's going to help me out. Now, the next part of this, though, is I want to show you where smart materials are located. Because this folder right here, it is in your computer. I can tell you this, it's in the documents folder in a 3DCoat Textura folder down there. Like I said, I'll show you. I use an online drive. You might use an online drive. Maybe you just have a memory stick. Maybe you have a common location where all of your textures or things that are important to you graphic-wise are stored. I think keeping this in the Smart Materials folder in your Documents folder under 3DCoat, kind of buried down under User Preference, is kind of a not so good place to have this. And also, I'm thinking that as I do this more and more, I might have many of these folders, and I don't really want to see all of these. So I could take those smart materials that I've added to this folder, and I could take that folder and put it in my project folder for whatever this is that I'm working on. So these house walls, they have a folder called house walls, and let's say that these are modular assets for any type of building I'm working on, and it's just a folder called house walls. I could keep this smart materials folder in that Windows folder. And then I don't have to see it here, and then I could just add it in whenever I need it. So if you look at this, here's the location. So you see, let me go to 3DCoat here. So you get to your Documents folder, you find 3DCoat Textura, get in there, go to User Preferences, and then you're going to see Smart Materials. Double click on Smart Materials, and you'll see the folders that you created. So now you can copy this or cut it and put it wherever you like. One thing I don't think is in here, I haven't seen it, but I haven't looked for it, is the ability to do things like in Blender with the asset browser, where I can have multiple locations for smart materials, and then that way I could just keep all my smart materials somewhere. But again, I don't really want to have this loaded up with all the different folders. Okay, so now let me show you how this works. So I will save this just in case I made any changes, and I'm not going to see this in a minute, so I'm going to have to rely on my 01, 02, 03, 04. Perfectly fine. So I'm going to go New, and I'm going to bring in the corner wall. So here's my corner wall. So it'd kind of be nice if all I had to do is maybe hit one button to generate an ambient occlusion and curvature map. Kind of be nice. Do it every single time I bring a model in. Anyways, I come over here and I hit new folder right away. And this is just a habit I'm trying to develop for organization. I don't think it's going to be necessary all the time, but here's the idea. So we've got house walls, and then I'm going to take layer 1 and drag it in there. There we go. And matter of fact, I know that I've got 4 layers, so I'm going to go ahead and add in another layer, another one, and another one. Go to layer 1. So I will fill entire layer. Okay, now we've got a problem that I mentioned in some other video here. I see this right away. It doesn't look right. Something's wrong with this, and this was really bothering me before. I'm going to hit undo, come up here. Look, opacity. It seems like this is the 3rd time I've noticed this. I think it's by default at 33%. Crank that up to 100%. Now watch this. Fill entire layer. Yeah, that was kind of super irritating a while ago. There we go. That's a lot better. Now, make sure you pick on the next layer here, and I go to O2. Make sure you actually get clicked on it. Fill entire layer. All the settings for each one of these are as I saved them when I created them. Oh, make sure I go to the right layer. So there you go. Now we've got 2 models that have the exact types of smart materials applied to them. So now I'm going to go ahead and start up a new one and do it one more time. Okay, so I've got my door here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate occlusion. Then we go ahead and calculate the curvature. And now that that's done, I'm going to add my folder. Then I'll add 2, 3, 4. Click on layer 1. Come up here. Right click, fill entire layer. Click on the next layer. Click on this, right click, fill entire layer. Next layer, next material, right click, fill entire layer. Next layer, next material, right click, fill entire layer. Now I think it would be wise to still stick with the naming convention right here, because you might need to know which ones they were if you didn't name these accordingly, and this happens to be one you opened. So I'm trying to develop good habits. I don't know if it's necessary right now, but I'm doing it anyways. There you go. So now any other features that I create that I need to have the same as all of these walls, I've got all of these smart materials in a folder that I can put into my project file that I can use whenever I need to come back to them.